This is about as tough as we can throw at you. So it says, find the equation in general form. Rachel, we did a bunch yesterday where we said, you know, if you get it in general form, then I can get it to slope-intercept form, get the y by itself if I need to. We practiced that. Point-slope form, you needed a point and a slope, which conveniently is what you were given in the first place, so you could jump straight to that if you wanted to. Of the line perpendicular to that, with the same x-intercept as that. Well, I asked myself two questions. The first question is, do I know the slope? And I would reply, Katie, not yet. Not yet. How can I figure out the slope? Well, they've told me that. Op flip. Perpendicular to which line? To that one there. I think if I can find the slope of this line, I will op flip it, negative reciprocal. That'll give me the slope. Then I'll move on to the second question, which was, do I have a point? I think I'll use the other equation to find a point, I'll bet you. Let's find out. How can I find the slope of the line that I underlined in red?
Get y by itself.
Sure, let's get y by itself. What would you do first thing? Let's see if we can do the first step in our head. What would you do first thing to get the y by itself, Jack? Can we do that in our head in one step? Is that okay? So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to write 7x minus 5 equals positive 5y, because I have plus 5y to both sides. Keep going, Jack. Since you have a candy, you've earned success. Let's continue that giddy thrill. Now what?
Divide everything by 5.
I agree. Divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. So this equation, which is not what I'm looking for, but which is what I need, ends up being y equals 7 over 5x minus 1. Is that okay? Yeah? Can I write this down, maybe? No? Better get 100% on the test or I'll freak. I asked myself a question. Do I know the slope? Do I know the slope? Not yet. What is the slope of the line that I want to find? Well, first of all, what's the slope of the line that they gave me? Well, the slope that they gave me is 7 over 5. Yes? What's the slope that I want if mine is perpendicular? Okay, I'm going to write over here m equals negative 5 over 7. I'll even put a box around it just to, okay, there's my first question answered. I'll even go like this just to kind of separate things. I probably should have left you more room, but I was trying to save paper. What's the second question that I asked myself? Mac. Okay, do I have a point? Not yet. Can you read to me after the comma, starting with the word with? Starting with?
With the same x-intercept as 3x minus 5y plus 9 equals 0.
That's my point. The x-intercept of that, which begs the question, how do I find the x-intercept of that? How do I find an x-intercept? Make the y 0. So I'm going to go like this. 3x minus 5, make the y 0, plus 9 equals 0. In fact, Rachel, I think you could argue that this whole thing is just going to vanish, and you're going to end up with 3x plus 9 equals 0. I think you could minus 9 from both sides. I think you could argue that you'll get 3x equals negative 9. Mac, finish it. How would I get the x by itself? So if I hear you, x is negative 3, because negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So what's the point? Negative 3 comma... Oh, yeah, because we said y was 0. That's how we force-fed this in. So I asked myself two questions. Do I know the slope? Now I do. Do I have a point? Now I do. Now what? I let my second point be a generic x comma y. I'm going to draw a line like that so I don't accidentally get stuff confused. And I'm going to plug this into the slope formula. Did you guys all turn the page, or did you have the slope formula written on the top of the previous page still? Because I think we did that last time. Is it still there? Okay. So it's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That equals the slope. By the way, you'll notice, Tawny, when the slope is negative, where does that negative sign really belong? In front, on the bottom, on the top, or both of that fraction? Yeah, on the top. Don't put two negatives, because if you put two negatives, what you're really saying is you have a minus minus, which is actually what? Plus, yeah. You could put it on the bottom. We just don't look for it there. Let's put it on top. Oh. I don't think that's going to make any... Y minus 0 is just plain old y. Grayson, do I have one fraction equals one fraction? You'll be wonderful if there's like a grade 8 mathematical operation that I could pull out of my back pocket. A math trick, as it were. Is there one? I can cross multiply. And in fact, in this case, I will get 7y equals negative 5x. And there's a minus minus, which is going to become a plus 3. Now what? Now we have to decide what form they want. Did they ask for slope-intercept form, get the y by itself? Did they ask for general form, make it equal to 0? Or did they ask for slope point form, which would be a bit trickier to get? Oh, general form? What's the easiest way to make this equal to 0? The easiest is to subtract 7y. By the way, I suspect if they gave you this question, because as math nerds, if we can get rid of negatives, we will, they would probably actually choose to plus the 5x over here and plus the 15 over here, because then you would have an equation with no negatives whatsoever, which to a math nerd, Jordan, is technically tidier. But I agree with Tawny. Negatives don't scare me. Oh, we did say for each one of these there's actually two answers. So when you're doing your homework, if your answer is completely opposite of what's in the back, you're still right. So Tawny, if I hear you right, you're going to say 0 equals a negative 5x, a negative 7y, and a negative 15. Or a positive 5x, a positive 7y, and a positive 15 if you move everything over the other side. I'll be honest, I probably would have moved the negatives over, because anytime I can get rid of negatives, that usually is... Oh, anytime I can get rid of negatives, that's a plus, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, come on, that was pretty good. I just made that one up. Anytime I can get rid of negatives, that's a plus, as far as I'm concerned. That's pretty good. Tough audience. Tip your waitress. Okay? So about the toughest I can give you, Katie, is to disguise the slope and disguise the point in two different equations. What's your homework? We already assigned 1 and 2. Okay? Circle 3, except cross out B. You know what? Let me give you what I gave my block C's. So for my block C's, I assigned 1, 2, 3, skip B, 4, 5, 10, and 12. Let me go circle that on your guys. 4, 5, 10, and 12. And then I got a couple of more things to give you. So your homework, and again, this is, so you should have 2 sheets? Okay, there's a weak link in that chain. Let me go very quickly. So graphing lines, sheet A. These ones are all in slope-intercept form. Quiet, please. Quiet, please, please. Shh, Jordan. These ones are all in slope-intercept form. Graph them. You'll find they go through letter. Ideally, because they're in slope-intercept form, they should go pretty quick. You'll notice there are a couple in the bottom right corner where you're missing a letter. These will be vertical or horizontal. You got a couple of word problems to think about. Your hint is I think the first number they give you where it says the temperature is -6, that's your y-intercept, because that's what it is at time 0. And then it tells you whether it's rising or falling at how many per hour. I think that's your slope. Oh, and then ideally you'll find out what happened to the guy who fell into an upholstery machine. You're dying to know. Turn the page over, look at sheet B. These are all in slope-intercept form. Again, should ideally take you less than 5 minutes. If this becomes boring and quick, then I've done my job. I almost want you to reach the point, Brendan, where graphing a line in slope-intercept form is in your sleep, just like signing your name, like you can do it without thinking. Then I've done my job. Oh, and you can find out what happened to the little boy who swallowed a silver dollar, which I know you're dying to know. Take a look at sheet C. Here, you'll have to rearrange the equations into slope-intercept form, probably on a separate piece of paper. Then from 10 to 15, rearrange them into slope-intercept form and then graph them. Find which letter they go through. And you can find out what did the electrician say to his daughter when she came home at 2 a.m. And the last one. Says graph each equation on the grid to its right. Again, they're not in slope-intercept form, so you'll have to do some rearranging, maybe on a separate piece of paper, or maybe you might be able to write small enough to do it right on there. And you can find out, what do man-eating fish use for barbecues? Apparently not, because I don't think that quite works when you spell it out. Folks, if you get it all done in class, and you might, because this one went shorter than my block C's, great. If not, it's not homework for spring break. It's going to be due the Thursday after we return.